Hi, everybody. It's April 4th, 2026. Um, Internal change is something that those who suffer wish for. Internal change for those who feel afraid is something that they fear because it's kind of a pattern of attention sometimes. If your attention is only called to things that are not going well, or things that are threatening you, or things that are unnerving you, uh, if your attention is attuned that way or tuned that way, change is not going to be welcome at all. You're going to everything. Every time you notice a change, it's always for the worst, and it's not necessarily that you're just focusing on negative things, but like that's what's highlighted in your consciousness. So you miss the change when things are uh, actually going well, going a little bit better, or going significantly better. And the way that this happens is that um, you subconsciously accept um, good things as being normal, and that's a pretty good precedent. But if you think that good things are normal and good things are static, that's going to be overlooked by you. It's going to be lost in the background. So when things change in a negative way, it's it's upheaval, it's unfair, it's traumatic, and that's the blessing of God. Is that God has given us so much good. He's given us a baseline of good for most of us, and probably all of us in some sense. But He's given us a baseline of good that is blended into the background. And the way that society has this focus is to be nudged or to be perturbed by the negative change. And I'm not saying that if you shift your attention to the good things that all your problems are going to go away, but you kind of get a balance of perception when you notice change in general, change good for good and for negativity. So changing internal change when it shifts to the good, realize that and learn from that. And when it shifts to the negative, try to balance it with remembering that things swing in both directions. So this gets me to thinking about the stratosphere of awareness, a stratosphere of attention. So the big questions uh, for many of us that are detail oriented, the big questions kind of trip us up because our understanding and our confidence in our understanding only goes so high. It's not necessarily because the secrets are kept from us personally, but the the higher concepts, the higher makeups of our existence, our living stories, is out of our reach because we haven't attained that knowledge or that data yet for many reasons. And so you think that you're living blindly down on the ground in your life. You think that just because you don't know the workings of the higher mechanisms of our reality, you don't know how that works. You think that you're a slave to circumstance, or you're subject to the volatile changes that come with being a citizen on Earth. And that's not necessarily true. There's power in life innately. Uh, as you can see, we are the highest intellectual form of of living beings on this earth. If you don't count the spiritual realm, but like we are the highest living beings on this, intellectually living beings on this earth. But we may be easily killed by a horse, not let alone a lion or a tiger or a bear. Does that mean that because they can kill us that they understand how to drive a car, or they understand how to use a computer, or how to study physics and quantum mechanics? No. So it's relative. Our level of understanding is relative to to our function. To our spiritual life, to our intellectual life. But there are many factors that determine uh, just how limited we are, and it's not necessarily mean that we're highly limited just because we don't know for sure what's beyond our perception. So the next thing I can say about stratospheric awareness is that um, it's not like we're totally blind. If you have faith in God and if you live a life following God and trying to understand what God is trying to get you to understand, you will have a sense of a higher sense of right and wrong. And I'm not saying that morality uh, is necessarily a minute by minute part of our life, but understanding morality in a sense that its power and its revealing nature, according to us, or pertaining to us, morality, if you follow morality long enough, your wisdom will start to grow incrementally in jumps and leaps and bounds. Because when you're dealing with morality on a minute by minute basis, you are controlling yourself. You are controlling parts of yourself that get out of line. You are seeing yourself. You are being highly self aware of how you affect those around you and how you affect the society around you. So, morality is going to kind of get you attuned to the stratospheric mechanisms that we can't necessarily describe verbatim. And the last thing I can say about stratospheric mechanisms is that um, those of us that have given all of ourselves, or as much as ourselves as we possibly can, you will catch glimpses of things that are supernatural. And the funny thing about it is that God will make it so you can't necessarily prove it. And you might not necessarily believe it's supernatural to yourself because there's no tangible evidence, but you know what you saw, heard, or thought, or felt. So, following God, you will get a glimpse of stratospheric mechanisms, the supernatural, but it's so well placed that you're never going to be able to prove it other than by your faith. So, I hope this helps. Thanks.